When Jordan's internet suddenly slows to a crawl, he never expected the culprit to be his nosy HOA president, Karen Delaney. But when he catches her red-handed stealing his Wi-Fi router, things spiral out of control. What starts as a petty theft turns into a wild 911 call, shocking lies, and a scene no one on the block will ever forget. She had no idea what Jordan was about to uncover, and it all ends with sirens and a taser. My name is Jordan Miles, a remote cybersecurity analyst who traded the chaos of city life for the rolling hills and cobblestone charm of a small town just outside Lisbon, Portugal. The house I bought, a modest two-story with ivy creeping up the walls, was supposed to be my sanctuary. After years of chasing hackers through digital mazes, I craved silence, a strong cup of coffee, and a Wi-Fi signal that didn't falter. For a while, I had it. Then I met Karen Delaney. Karen wasn't Portuguese. She was an American expat, like me, who'd washed up in this picturesque corner of Europe with a mission to civilize it. She'd declared herself the unofficial president of our neighborhood's homeowners association, a title no one else seemed to want, but everyone was too polite, or too afraid, to challenge. At first, I didn't mind her. She was a middle-aged woman with a sharp bob haircut and a penchant for pastel cardigans, always armed with a clipboard and a judgmental stare. She'd lecture me about trimming my hedges or rolling my trash bins out precisely at 6:45 a.m. I'd nod, smile, and retreat inside. Live and let live, right? That philosophy crumbled the day my internet started crawling. I'm not talking about a minor lag. I mean dial-up speeds in 2025. For a guy whose entire livelihood depends on bandwidth, this was a crisis. I ran diagnostics, rebooted my system, even called my provider. Nothing. Then, one rainy evening, I saw her. I'd stepped onto my porch to grab a package when I caught movement in the shadows near my backyard. Karen, in a neon yellow raincoat, was scurrying away from my property line, something bulky tucked under her arm. My heart sank as I recognized the shape. My router. The woman had unplugged my lifeline and was making off with it like a petty thief. "Hey!" I shouted, jogging after her through the drizzle. She froze, then turned with the guiltiest grin I'd ever seen. "Jordan, you startled me," she chirped, clutching the router tighter. "I was just borrowing this. It's such a clever little sculpture. I thought it'd look darling in my garden." I blinked, rain dripping off my hood. "That's my router, Karen. It's not a decoration. Give it back." Her smile vanished, replaced by a pinched expression. "Oh, don't be dramatic. I was only testing a theory. Your signal's been interfering with my smart thermostat." I had to do something. "By stealing my equipment?" I stepped closer, hand outstretched. "Hand it over, now." She hesitated, then shoved it at me with a huff. "Fine. But don't think this is over. People like you always think you can just do whatever you want." I froze. "People like me?" She didn't answer, just spun on her heel and marched back to her house, leaving me standing there, soaked and fuming. I should have let it go. I should have reinstalled my router, upped my security, and moved on. But something about her tone, the way she'd said, "people like you," gnawed at me. I'm a black man in a mostly white expat community. I'd heard that phrase before, laced with the kind of venom that doesn't need a follow-up explanation. The next morning, my Wi-Fi was still sluggish. Worse, I found a note taped to my door. "Check your privilege, Jordan. K." Privilege? I'd spent my life clawing my way up from nothing. Single mom, public housing, nights teaching myself code while the world slept. If anyone had privilege here, it was Karen, with her HOA crown and her smug entitlement. Then the cops showed up. 2 officers from the local Policia de Segurança Pública knocked on my door just after noon. One was a wiry guy with a mustache, the other a woman with a no-nonsense braid. They asked if I'd been harassing my neighbor. I almost laughed. Harassing? She stole my router last night. I asked for it back. That's it. The mustache guy raised an eyebrow. She says you threatened her, said you chased her through the rain, yelling. She's lying, I said, crossing my arms. I caught her sneaking off my property with my stuff. Check my security cam. It's all on tape. They exchanged a look. The woman nodded. We'll need to see it. I pulled up the footage on my laptop. Karen creeping along my fence, router in hand, then her flustered excuse when I confronted her. The officers watched in silence. Mustache scratched his chin. This doesn't match her story. No kidding, I muttered. They left with a warning to keep the peace, promising to talk to Karen. I figured that'd be the end of it. I was wrong. That night, my Wi-Fi died completely. Not slow, dead. I checked my setup. Cables cut, router smashed, bits of plastic scattered across my backyard like confetti. I grabbed my phone to call the cops again, but before I could, I heard a scream. Karen's voice, shrill and panicked, echoing from her yard. I ran outside, adrenaline spiking. She was on her porch, waving a stun gun, her eyes wild. Stay back, Jordan. I know what you did. What I did? I stopped at the edge of my property, hands up. You trashed my equipment. You're hacking me, she screeched. My thermostat's going haywire. My lights won't stop flickering. It's you, isn't it? You're one of those cyber criminals. I stared, dumbfounded. I'm a cybersecurity analyst, Karen. I stop hackers, and I don't touch your creepy smart house. Liar. She jabbed the stun gun forward, and I flinched as a crackle split the air. She'd fired it, missed me by inches. My heart pounded. This wasn't just petty neighbor drama anymore. This was dangerous. Put that down, I said, voice low. You're gonna hurt someone. She didn't. Instead, she dialed 9111, or tried to, forgetting Portugal uses 112. When she finally got through, she sobbed into the phone. He's threatening me! Help! The cops came back. This time, they weren't so calm. They cuffed me, ignoring my protests, and hauled me to the station. Karen's story had morphed. Now I was a tech-savvy thug who'd been terrorizing her for weeks. The smashed router? My fault, she claimed, to cover my tracks. The police station smelled like stale coffee and bureaucracy. I sat in a cramped interrogation room, wrists still sore from the cuffs, while Mustache and Braid, the officers from earlier, stared me down. A third cop, an older guy with a buzz cut and a permanent scowl, joined them. He didn't speak English as well, but his tone said enough. He'd already made up his mind about me. Ms. Delaney says you've been tampering with her home systems, Mustache began, flipping through a notepad. Says you're some kind of hacker. That true? I'm a cybersecurity analyst, I said, keeping my voice steady. I protect systems, not break them. She's the one who stole my router and smashed it. You saw the footage. Buzzcut snorted. Convenient story. Black man with a computer. Always trouble. I clenched my jaw. There it was, the undercurrent I'd felt since moving here, now spilling out in plain words. I wasn't just a neighbor to them. I was a stereotype. Check my credentials, I said. I work for a firm in London. My record's clean. Braid frowned, glancing at Buzzcut. We'll verify that. But the broken equipment. Why would she destroy your router? Because she's unhinged, I snapped. She thinks I'm sabotaging her smart house. She's paranoid. They didn't look convinced, but Mustache scribbled something down. We're holding you until we sort this out. She's pressing charges, trespassing, harassment, property damage. I leaned back, exhaustion settling in. You've got my footage. What's her proof? She's got witnesses, Buzzcut said, smirking. Other neighbors saw you yelling at her. I wanted to scream. Of course she had witnesses, her little HOA clique probably. The expat community here was tight-knit, mostly white, and Karen was their queen bee. I was the outsider, the black guy who didn't kiss the ring. But I wasn't going down without a fight. Run a diagnostic on her systems, I said. If she thinks I'm hacking her, prove it. I'll bet you find something else. Mustache raised an eyebrow. Like what? Like she's covering something up, I said. She's too obsessed with my internet. Maybe she's the one hiding something. They didn't bite. Not yet. I spent the night in a holding cell, replaying every interaction with Karen. Her snide comments, the way she'd linger near my fence, the people like you jab. It wasn't just about Wi-Fi. This was personal. The next morning they let me go. No charges, yet, but Braid pulled me aside. We're looking into her systems. Something's off. Stay out of trouble. I nodded, but trouble was already my shadow. Back home, I didn't waste time. If Karen wanted a war, I'd fight on my turf, the digital battlefield. I fired up my laptop, connected through a mobile hotspot, and started digging. First, I scanned my own network logs from the past month. Sure enough, there were anomalies. Unauthorized pings, port scans, someone sniffing around my setup. Not sophisticated, but persistent. Karen didn't strike me as a tech genius, so who was helping her? Then I turned to her. Public records showed Karen Delaney, 52, divorced, no kids, moved to Portugal 3 years ago after a cushy real estate gig in Florida. Nothing flashy, but her smart home? That was a goldmine. I didn't hack her. Ethics and legality aside, I didn't need to. People like Karen overshare online. Her ex-profile was a rant-filled diary, complaints about noisy foreigners, entitled newcomers, and, bingo, a thread about securing my home from digital threats. She'd tagged a local tech guy, Miguel Costa, who bragged about installing custom security for expats. I cross-referenced Miguel's posts with my logs. The timestamps matched. He'd been probing my network, likely at Karen's request. But why? To frame me? To scare me off? I needed more. That night, I staked out her house from my window. Around 11 p.m., a beat-up Fiat rolled up. Miguel, short, stocky, with a baseball cap, hopped out, carrying a laptop bag. He slipped into Karen's place like he owned it. 30 minutes later, he left, and her porch light flickered 3 times. A signal? I couldn't sleep. The next day, I tailed Miguel to a cafe in town. He met a guy in a suit, tall, pale, Eastern European vibe. They spoke in hushed tones, passing a USB drive. My gut screamed. This wasn't about thermostats. Back home, I dug deeper. Miguel's digital footprint led to a dark web forum. Amateur stuff, but active. He'd been peddling data, emails, passwords, even banking details. Karen's name popped up in a client list. She wasn't just a nosy neighbor. She was a cog in a small-time identity theft ring. My Wi-Fi? Collateral damage, or a threat she couldn't ignore. I had enough to go to the cops, but I wanted Karen to squirm first. I printed the evidence, screenshots, logs, forum posts, and marched to her door. She answered in a floral robe, stun gun nowhere in sight, but her eyes narrowed when she saw me. What do you want, Jordan? Answers, I said, holding up the papers. You and Miguel have been busy, stealing data, selling it online. My internet was just in the way, huh? Her face paled, but she recovered fast. That's absurd. You're delusional. Am I? I stepped closer. Cops are already sniffing around your systems. How long before they find the same trail I did? She lunged, not at me, but for the papers. I yanked them back and she stumbled, catching herself on the railing. You think you're so smart, she hissed. Coming here, acting like you belong. You don't. There it was again, the mask off. This isn't about belonging, I said. It's about you breaking the law, and I've got proof. She laughed, bitter and sharp. Proof? You're nothing here. They'll believe me over you every time. Maybe, I said, but not when Miguel flips. He's not loyal, Karen. He's a mercenary. That hit her. She froze, lips trembling. Then she bolted inside, slamming the door. I heard her on the phone, voice frantic. Calling Miguel? The cops? I didn't wait to find out. I dropped the evidence with Braid an hour later, laying it all out. The data theft, the frame job, Karen's meltdown. The raid came fast. They hauled Karen and Miguel out in cuffs the next day. Neighbors gawked, whispering. I watched from my porch, coffee in hand, as Karen glared at me from the squad car. This isn't over, she mouthed. The case made local news. Expat duo busted in cybercrime scheme. Karen claimed she was protecting the neighborhood from undesirables, code for me. Miguel sang like a canary, pinning most of it on her own. They're facing trial, but I'm not holding my breath for justice. Racism doesn't vanish with a gavel. My Wi-Fi's back, stronger than ever. The HOA disbanded. Turns out Karen was its only glue. But the whispers linger. Some neighbors nod at me now. Others cross the street. I'm still the outsider, just with a better story. Last week, a new note appeared on my door. Watch your back. No signature, but the handwriting matched Karen's. She's out on bail, awaiting court. Is she bluffing? Or is there more to her network than I uncovered? I sip my coffee, staring at the hills. Peace is a myth, isn't it? Racism, too. It's a ghost that shifts shape, never leaving. I could move, start over. Or I could stay, fight the shadows. My router hums, my laptop glows. I've got work to do.